All right, peace, y'all. Today is February 8th, Tuesday, and we'll be reading from pages 6 through 10 in Collective Courage today. We've been going over what a cooperative is, what a challenge it could be to even come together and recognize the challenges that we have in our communities, but how very important that is. Jackson Rising has been our example of a more up-to-date version of cooperatives that we can go deeply into. Collective Courage is the historical, just giving us historical examples of what has happened in the past when we have decided to come together for the good and for the bad, for the win and for the loss. So I wanted to continue to draw from the example of Jackson Rising as we go into today's reading, which will be more of a breakdown of different kinds of businesses that can be orchestrated or manufactured or put together based on, if you want to go LLC, C Corp, the legalese of it a little bit. We're going to just kind of go into enough of that for you to see the breadth of it. But I'll be pulling from chapter 1 in Jackson Rising. And I want to read from page, I'm sorry, let me make sure I got the right one. Page 7, and it will be right under advancing the Jackson Kush plan. Peace to everybody on Instagram. We live on Instagram and we live on Zoom. For those who haven't joined the book club, we just tap in with us in the DMs and I'll make sure I link you in. We love to have you on. So yeah, page 7 in Jackson Rising. Politics without economics is simple without substance. This old Black nationalist adage summarizes and defines Cooperation Jackson's relationship to the Jackson Kush plan and the political aims and objectives of the new African People's Organization in the Malcolm X grassroots movement and putting it forward. Without a sound economic program and foundation, the Jackson Kush plan is nothing more than a decent exposition of revolutionary nationalist politics. Cooperation Jackson is the vehicle we have collectively created to ensure that we do more than just espouse good rhetoric, but engage in a concrete struggle to create a democratic economy that will enable Black and other colonized, oppressed, and exploited people to exercise self-determination in Mississippi and beyond. So form follows function. And I also heard an interesting play on it from an interview. A system's purpose is what it does. And they were referring to the political system and, a critical review of it, and so despite what it says it wants to do, this is what it does. So that's its purpose. And I felt like that was an interesting way of looking at it. Whatever we see results manifest, whenever we see that, we kind of got to judge it for what it is and also add historical context, but you got to be able to kind of understand a pattern to understand how to act on it, right? Or understand the structure that you need to create to be aware of and the consequences of these patterns that could mess up your organization in the future. So clarity, we talked about clarity the last few days, and Jackson Kush plan is the clarity of Cooperation Jackson. They formed this plan. They talked about the two sides, the people's assemblies, and they talked about the economic change that they wanted to make in the political engagement that they needed. And so politics without economics is simple without substance. So they don't just want to talk about it, but they also want to address the economic state of where folks are. And the economic state affects a lot. It affects the education side of it, right? So financial literacy is something that we don't have access to a lot of the time. And I like to see that shifting. I like the pages that I see popping up on social media, the Earn Your Leisures and the Wall Street Trappers and the, different Black people who are getting very passionate and getting a lot of notoriety just for speaking on financial finances, you know what I'm saying? The investing and all of that. So I think that's a good start. So that leads into the reading of Collective Courage on page 6. We see the cooperative versus corporation comparison. And I'll just give everybody a few seconds to get to that. But the point is, right, what is the structure that we are hoping to form, and what are the differences? What are the directions we could take it? And I think once you have that focal point, right, like Jackson Rising focuses on, they really wanted to affect the economics. Maybe your focus and your cooperative is health. Maybe that's the primary concern. Maybe it's the spirituality of your people, because cooperatives can be cultural vehicles as well as economic vehicles, and they can be both at the same time. So, and I also want to take this time to celebrate our co-host today, Mama Mia, who's going to be, giving her insight into our reading as we go on. And I encourage anyone else that's interested in being a co-host, basically someone to just bounce ideas off of during the book club. Let us know and we'll put you down in the schedule. How you doing today, Mama Mia?
Hey, Ajman, I'm doing good, thank you. And I'm also going to, I have the PDF pulled up and I'll put a link to it in the chat for anyone who needs the PDF. Thank you.
Awesome. For those who are in the live on Instagram, what's up with it? DM us so you can get that Zoom link so you can be tapped in with us. So what has been your experience, Mama Mia, with the formation of a cooperative? Like, what came first? Was it the designation of, okay, we want to do something cultural, or was it an economic need that you felt like you wanted to address?
Economic. Yeah, definitely economic, but also we were looking for, well, my idea was to try to find something that we could all join into that uses all of our talents that are currently in our group. A lot of cooperatives are formed around needs in the community. So that's another way you could form it. But this one was around, like, we're all artists, musicians, into like performing arts type thing. And so that's how we formed our cooperative, is, people like-minded getting together. And then we haven't even actually got to the becoming official yet. We're trying to figure that part out. So right. It was the like minds getting together the first.
Yes, I think that's very insightful. I like how you highlighted that you really wanted to address the economic and that you wanted to harness the collective skills in your community, right? So, there's lateral and then there's the wide part of it. I believe it's horizontal, so you could go wide or you can go high. And often I think we try to go high to reach the next status level, right? The person with the most money, the person with the most status. But right next to you, you have people that are very talented, and provided the opportunity, they could be just as effective, if not more effective, for your cause if you develop that relationship and develop, a common understanding, right? So I feel like that's a very powerful nuance you just provided, Mama Mia. Thank you. So on the table on page 6, it says, who are the owners? In a cooperative corporation, the members are the owners. In an uncooperated or unincorporated, oh no, it's unincorporated, sorry. Cooperative association, the members may include both patron and investor classes. So there's a little bit more room for interpreting. Corporation, one or more shareholders, limited to 100 shareholders. So shareholders is different than members being the owners, right? Shareholders are a small group of people that have invested in the company and they want to see a return more often than not, an ROI. Peace to Crystal House in the chat. Peace, peace. Peace to Original Black Print. How you doing? Partnership, at least 2 individuals or entities. So those people are the owners, not the employees, but those people who originally founded the company most likely. Proprietorship, the individual. So if Ajman said, I want to start a company, I'm the owner. And a nonprofit is no owners, right? So you'll see more so boards running the company, being more of a guide to how the company is being run, rather than one person being like, we're going this direction and formatting strategies based off of that one person's decision. So let's get down to what is the business purpose, right? So a cooperative corporation is to meet member needs for goods or services, earn return on member investment, right? And then for the unincorporated cooperative association, to meet member needs for goods or services, earn return on member investment. So basically those two are the before and after of being made official as a cooperative, right? So if you're a cooperative, legally in California, there's some officiality to it, meaning you got to file some paperwork, but unincorporated meaning you haven't done that yet, but you have the common understanding of your collective, right? That's what you start out as first. So the purpose is the same, right? So remember that, like, don't be intimidated by, oh, I haven't filed a DBA or I haven't filed a LLC, and don't, learn that. But in the meantime, do the work that you want to do. So I think that's an interesting connection that I want to just highlight. And then for a LLC, the purpose is to earn a return on owner investment, provide employment for members, right? So no knock to jobs that we all got to work to level up, right? But imagine your first job being at a cooperative instead of at a Mickey D's or some fast food place that doesn't really value your education. They value your time, and to a degree. I mean, that's debatable, right? Because minimum wage in no state is minimum wage a viable money source to take care of a family, right? So take that for what it is. But they are giving you money for your time, right? So, but imagine you worked at a cooperative where you come in as an owner, and imagine the education that you get. Like, that's better than an internship because you're getting paid, but you got to learn through that. And oftentimes different cooperatives will have a period of time before you're official, right? As with any job, you might not get your full benefits for 9 months, probation period, if you will. But during that time, you're learning about not just how the job works, but maybe even the behind the scenes of, ordering merchandise and shipping and, staying up on orders and customer service with, B2B, other businesses, not just when the people come in, customer service. So like different layers. Like imagine how impactful that would be versus just, oh, I'm just here to get my $15 an hour, if that, right? $7 an hour some places or wherever. So any questions, guys, before we move on to the next page? Or any ideas?
I was
interpretations?
just gonna say, that could make a difference in your mindset too. Like you could start your first job at a cooperative and you learn to be an owner. Just imagine how much more you'll care about the job, the company you're working for, whether they are successful or not, right? Because work at some $6, $7 an hour, well, $10 an hour job, you're like, I don't care about this place. you know,
Exactly.
you're not doing nothing extra. They getting the minimum for their
A
minimum
minimum.
wage.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
So I love how you just highlighted how it's a change in mindset. If you start out at a job as a regular employee, there's a certain learning curve that's very low. But to start out in a job where you're the owner, you're gonna have a certain confidence and a certain spark to want to be more. Well, hopefully, right? Everybody has their motivational motivation tanks, right? People have different levels of it, but ideally, to say I work somewhere and then say I own it, I would think encourages something in most people. And to have that when you first get into the job market could set you on a trajectory, way past the standards of before, which is just stagnicity oftentimes, right? You work somewhere and I remember I worked at a garage for like 2 years and I'm very appreciative of that job. No lie, it gave me some consistent income when I needed it. But man, there was people there for like 20, 25 years. And I'm like not, not they haven't done anything else and they got families. And so I respect it, but it was like, they're not paying us enough for this. Like, this is not a job. You say you got 3 kids, bro. Like, I'm like, bro, how are you doing this? Like, I don't, and I just felt trapped, and so I definitely appreciate just progression and being able to move on from that. But that was a very eye-opening experience. Like, folks older than me still in the same place because they feel like they need to for whatever reason. You don't want to be there if you can avoid it, or maybe they were biding their time being entrepreneurs. They didn't tell me everything, I'm sure, but it's just something to think about. Like, if I'm gonna be somewhere for 25 years, I should be an owner, right? Like, when you want to be an owner somewhere, like I would like to be an owner in a garage. People have to park their cars. Like, that's an incentive to have people work and stay loyal to your job. It was a huge turnover at my job too. Like, people leaving, coming, while some people stayed a long time. Cooperative ownership, y'all, it's a change in dynamic. So page 8, comparison of cooperative businesses with employee stock ownership programs, right? So who are the owners? A worker co-op, the employees, sometimes non-voting preferred stock owners. ESOP, one or more shareholders, some proportion of employees through trustee employee stock held in trust. And then other employee ownership mechanisms, non-employees and employees with some stock options in partnership. So basically, the different kinds of cooperatives, right? So you have the worker co-ops, and then you have co-ops that are owned by the customers to a degree. You have, shared stock cooperatives where there's still kind of a hierarchy, but everyone has the same amount of investment into the company, but there might be just a different delegation of responsibilities that are not so even, but it still is democratic, right? And then you have other employee ownership mechanisms that are kind of like saying other, like, whatever's left out of these explanations. There's different types of cooperatives, and you might get innovative and create something else, right? Because we talked about the 4th industrial revolution and how crypto DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, which are basically people coming together on the blockchain saying, okay, we're going to put our money in this thing. And then the smart contract is basically the people creating a central need and saying, we want the robot, the AI essentially to do this. Whenever this happens, right? And then that could be invest, that could be buy, things like the Pleaser DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. They bought the Wu-Tang album. right? Which was a one-of-a-kind piece of art that the Wu-Tang Clan put out, and it was bought by Martin Shkreli, who was a very questionable dude who raised the price of insulin like 700%. You know, eventually he was found out for fraud for a different thing, and he got his stuff confiscated. So the government got that album and sold it to someone else at a discount. Or actually, no, I think it was double, like 4 million or something like that. It was a high number. So basically, a DAO, which is a crypto-based organization, bought it so they can then display it, you know, almost like they're creating a museum. They're buying like other cultural items, which could be problematic because who's on this DAO? You know, do they have our culture, hip hop's culture in mind, you know, to a real authentic degree? I don't know. But I will say we could create our own DAOs. We could create our own decentralized organizations that focus on ownership. You work for this company, you automatically get a certain amount of your dough that you earn in your checks in crypto. And then that, you know, does what it does based on whatever we decide. Maybe it goes to, you know, your retirement. Maybe it goes to other, maybe housing, you know, maybe a housing voucher or something. You know, it could be very creative. So also, we have a newsletter coming out very soon, y'all. If you would like to be a part of that, go ahead and send your email in the DMs, in the chat. We're going to be going into some of our programs that we had, talking about our conference that we had, links to the videos that we put out on our YouTube. So I appreciate all of the support that you guys have been showing us. So let's keep going. On page 10, owners of corporations are stockholders, and their power derives from the amount of stock they own. Co-op members are the owners, determined by the enterprise's bylaws and the fact that they have invested at all in the co-op. No matter, sorry, y'all, lost my place. Members are owners determined by the enterprise's bylaws and the fact that they have invested at all in the co-op, no matter how much or how little. Co-op members all have equal voting power, one person, one vote. And their influence on the cooperative depends on the participation in and use of the cooperative. Surplus distribution is decided jointly and shared relatively equally. These differences in structure and procedure provide cooperatives with different mechanisms and unique functioning for conducting business. And they often give cooperatives an advantage over other types of businesses. What are those advantages? All right, let's say that your economy in your neighborhood is on the downtrend and your store may need to save some money. Okay, well, generally we see corporations close many stores in economic downturn, and that hurts a lot of people. In a cooperative, we can slow down production. We can slow down our hours, and we could all take an even amount of cut across the board, not just the CEO loses 10%, but everyone else loses their job. Like, no, it's a different sort of distribution of loss, just like there's a distribution of win. So when we all come up and the company is in a surplus and we in the black, okay, everybody gets a bonus. Everybody, you know, gets something that they can say, I'm benefiting off of this membership. So these are some of the benefits of cooperatives that you might want to think about. Like, what kind of benefits do you want to work into your cooperative? That would be something that maybe you would not want, or something that you haven't experienced in your regular job experience. You know, like what type of, let me pass that around a little bit. What are some things in your job that you wish existed that you feel like dissatisfied by in the current work environment that we usually all share? Popcorn style. Anybody could take.
I'll go. So,
Peace, Shayara, go ahead.
okay, so when I was working for this tow company, I really liked that it was like a mom and pop business, but at the same time, a lot of incentives. It's a lot of incentives to go to like the bigger corporation jobs, even though I didn't like those, but like the bigger corporation jobs was able to do like tuition reimbursement and stuff. So that way you could still like grow. But like at the smaller job, they didn't have that available. And so it would be nice just for that incentive to like help improve like employee improvement.
That's big. Anybody else? Thank you, Shayar, for that. That was insightful.
Yeah, I like to add,
It would be
man.
great.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna add really quickly, flex timing. Cause you know, a lot of times when you're doing reports and stuff, you don't have to sit there during the 9 to 5. You really want to do that at 7 at night just to get it done, you know? That's all.
Real quickly, I add with that, just the opportunity for ownership. When I worked at Walmart, I know they made billions of dollars, sometimes even hundreds of thousands every day. And I only took a smallest fraction of that home. So there was no ability, no opportunity, no matter how much I worked, gave blood, sweat, and tears to this company, I never was going to be able to receive the benefits as the Waltons, which is the richest family, one of the richest families in the world. Just being a worker for that company and helping to make them those billions, I never would get opportunity to have no ownership. So for me, that's one thing that I didn't like about traditional jobs.
Thank
Hey,
you
can
for
I
that.
share some?
Yeah, Z, go ahead.
Yeah, so why I don't like traditional jobs is because you got to work for somebody else. I'd rather work my own hours. You know what I'm saying? You don't know, nothing personal, but you don't know what people have going on in their personal life. And then I don't like being told what to do. That's why I could never work a traditional job. And I feel like if you plan something like, I keep saying it, like a co-op, I feel like you could come to, as in the community, we could come together and make our own stuff. And that's anywhere you at. You know what I'm saying? You could be at a park or recreation center and start something, you know, and that could lead to making money. You know, it's just a suggestion.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Facts.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like we all have a similar motivation of independence and sovereignty that we want to flex just innately. And there's a certain opposition to wanting to be controlled or opposition to being controlled, especially when there's no benefit to that control. Like maybe we could fall in line a bit if you know, like when your parents tell you to do something, more often than not, you're going to do it because you know their interest is in your interest. You know what I'm saying? Like you understand that, you know, and we all go through our rebellious stages, but like you grow to understand like your parents have your best interest at heart for most of us, right? That's the general rule. So I feel like when our jobs, they put us on these strict, like do this, do that, but you're giving us this little checks or whatever, but largely our time isn't respected as it should be. Hence why people are trying to work from home more. You know, like it's a different environment because people want more peace. Their peace is actually more expensive than their hourly check. You know what I'm saying? But to quantify that is hard to do unless you've had it kind of snatched away from you a little bit. And now that this pandemic has allowed for people to have a little more shift in perspective, they're like, hold up, I don't want to be caught in traffic for an hour to work and an hour back. Like I'm losing my life slowly but surely. Like what's happening? You know, I want to spend time with my kids and I want to do this, I want to do that. So environment is important and we want to be in environments. I think what I'm hearing is we want to be in environments that build us up where we can be our best selves and be invested in, just like we're investing our time in somewhere. Like there should be some reciprocity that's equal. And so I appreciate everyone's perspective. It was very on point and enlightening. So, yo, we come to a close. It's about that time. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate those who send in their email that want the newsletter. It'll be coming any day now. We're making our last edits on it. So just wanted to shout y'all out. We'll be back tomorrow. Same black channel, same black time. Mama Mia, you got any last thoughts?
It's always a pleasure coming to the book club. Get me excited for the day. I'm ready to run out and conquer some stuff. Thank you, Ajman.
Peace.
See y'all
we got
tomorrow.
One more for the newsletter. Peace, y'all.
Peace
All
out.
right. Enjoy your afternoon.
Adios.
Thank you.